I thought that Rodgers wants Minnesota. I still think Rodgers wants Minnesota because it makes all the sense in the world for him. He's an aging quarterback. He gets to play in a dome. It's the Packers' biggest rival. They've got all the weapons in the world. It gives him a chance to compete for a Super Bowl late into his career. But from the Vikings standpoint, they invested a top 10 pick in a quarterback, and it's year 2, and they want to see if he can grow. So it doesn't make any sense. I never thought Minnesota was going to get involved in the Rodgers thing. Why is Aaron Rodgers waiting? I mean, Anthony's probably right. Maybe he's hoping and praying that maybe they feel McCarthy, as the offseason prolongs, isn't fully recovered from that injury. And they say, hey, maybe now we're willing to take that swing for Aaron Rodgers. That's a possibility. Or maybe he's just waiting for how things develop throughout the league. And at this point, he may be waiting for after the draft because he may say, well, I will reassess at that point. They have a better supporting cast. They have 2 elite wide receivers now, with Metcalf and Pickens. They're a team that constantly competes. They got a proven head coach, and it gives them a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. So I agree. I think I'm leaning it'll be Russ. The only way at this point, because I think Russ is waiting for Rodgers, because I think in a perfect world for Russ, he'd like to go back to Pittsburgh. An offense he played in last year gives him a chance to compete, but he knows that Pittsburgh is courting Rodgers. So I think he's waiting for Rodgers' decision. And then if Rodgers elects to not go to Pittsburgh, he'll probably end up back there.
Never taken a snap in the NFL. And they don't really have anybody else either now. They let Darnold walk. So they're also in a really interesting position, kind of like we would be if we go into the season. We don't have a number 1 quarterback outside of DeVito, and we're going in with Shura Sanders or Cameron Ward. It's kind of the same thing, because Minnesota technically has a rookie quarterback. We don't know what the hell J.J. McCarthy is. Andy's coming off an injury, although they're obviously set up a lot better than our franchises to do anything. So the Giants don't really look like, it's not really a great situation to go into. It'd be a hard sell for sure, because, again, you look at the other teams that they're set up better, but you would hope that, somebody wants to come here and change a franchise. You would hope that somebody wants to come in here and turn it around. And maybe the draw for Aaron Rodgers is, the proven veteran, a guy that is going to Canton, although his best days are behind him, but obviously better than any quarterback we've had here in the last 6 years. A guy that can change blocking schemes, that can see a blitz, that can get rid of the ball, that can anticipate wide receivers, things we didn't see Daniel Jones do for the last 6 years. Can it make the Giants a competitive team with that position alone by adding somebody like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson?
I think it depends on how you define the term competitive. For me, competitive would be one of those teams. I think the baseline for competitive is a team that's on the fringe of the playoffs, meaning like the Falcons didn't make the playoffs this year, but they had a chance of making the playoffs at the end of the season. Like they were playing competitive, meaningful football in December. So that to me is competitive. Now, others might not feel the same way. Maybe you have to be a playoff team to be competitive in some people's definition. But for me, a team like the Falcons, where had they just won a couple games versus the Bucs and the Bucs lost those games, they would have flip-flopped their playoff positioning. I mean, listen, the Giants had barely 3,500 passing yards last year across 4 quarterbacks with a 15 to 13 touchdown interception ratio. If you took Aaron Rodgers' 3,800 yards with a 28 to 11 TD to INT ratio and dropped it on this team, all things constant, they probably do win an extra 4 to 5 games. They probably are that much better of a football team. That's how bad the quarterback play was here for the New York Giants last year. And even though that was the worst of Aaron Rodgers, it was still an astronomical night and day difference comparing the quarterback play between the Giants and the Jets. So, yeah, honestly, the more that I've thought about it, and I think this is why I'm starting to understand the way that Joe Schoen has moved this offseason, not necessarily that I support all these decisions that he's making in terms of the way he's treating the quarterback position. But if the Giants, they are very salary cap healthy, and they have a position here where they can build a team, position it so that maybe in 26, if this is the route that they want to go, Travis Hunter 3 plus Aaron Rodgers, as their quarterback this year, they would have all of the cap space and flexibility to then sell the farm and then get that quarterback next year. And obviously it takes 2 to tango. You need a trade partner, all those things